Call the meeting to order. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, all members are present. Approval of the agenda, we have two changes. 7E will be removed and 9A will be removed. Is there any other changes to the agenda? Council? Do I have a motion to approve the agenda with those changes?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Heidi, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Dave. Call the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, 5 in favor, none against. Approval of the minutes of the May 15th, 2019 regular meeting. Received them in your packet. Is there any changes, corrections, clarification needed? Hearing nothing, do I have a motion to approve the May 15th, 2019 regular meeting minutes?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Dave, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Joe. Call the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, 5 in favor, none against. Public open forum. Is there anyone here that would like to speak to the council? Is there anyone here that would like to speak to the council? Maybe the press does, I don't know.
Yeah.
Is there anyone here that would like to speak to the council? Having no one wanting to speak, we will move on. We have no public hearings. Will then bring us to our reports and presentations. Park Board report. Vicki?
So the Park Board met in regular session actually last night. They had a few items on their agenda, the first two of which are action items for you as well. The first was they are recommending the purchase of playground equipment for J.C. Park and also recommending a temp employee for the Public Works Department. They've also authorized the Hockey Association to purchase a sound system for the arena, and we will be working with them on installation. They reviewed some retail items that we're proposing for the campground, like mugs and T-shirts. They did discuss some tree update policies regarding the EAB, but that'll be coming at a later date. They talked about the campground boat and trailer parking, because we constantly have boat and trailer issues with not enough parking. They did discuss installing a day-use dock by the pier for people on the lake to be able to come in and go into town. You've kind of talked about that at times in the past, but we've never really done anything, so they're looking at that again. They did authorize a permit application for a potential beach to kind of feel that out to see whether we would be eligible for a permit. It takes about a year to even get through that process. And they're recommending that the toolcat replacement be moved up on the CIP based on the number of hours that we're putting on that machine and how often they use it, that it's potentially going to be need to be replaced sooner than we thought. And also they looked at various future upgrades to the campground, mostly relative to the water lines and the electric lines. And we replace them or upgrade them periodically, and we don't have them all done yet, so they talked about that. So the first two items, the playground equipment and the temp employee, are action items later on the agenda.
Questions? Okay. EDA report?
The EDA met today at noon in their regular session. They did have a report from the chamber versus a brief report regarding Sinclair Lewis Days. Everything is set to go on that. We talked a little bit about the progress of the railroad property development, and then they have one item that's also an action for you tonight, and that was the sale of the city property, Lot 1, Block 1, Kate's Estates, First Edition. That's the property on the north end that we are using for a staging area. I reported in the reports previously that they were talking about that. And then we also had an inquiry regarding the Unger property by the truck stop, which was potentially maybe part lease, part sale, but we don't have enough information yet to bring anything to the city council. So the one item you do have on the agenda for the EDA is the sale of that Lot 1 up at Kate's Estates.
Questions? Okay, we'll move on to action items. 7A, approve pay request number 8 to Brightlock Construction.
This is for the project on the north end, the first pay request this year, which is actually pay request number 8 because it's a 2-year project. The amount due from this request is $30,354.64. The total contract that's been completed to date is $1.8 million. So we have a ways to go yet, but for this due request today is just the $30,354.64.
Questions, comments? Do I have a motion to approve pay request number 8 for $30,354.64?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Dave, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Joe. Call the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7B, approve appointment of temporary employment, Public Works.
Ben is the one that has brought this forward. We've had some planned absences from the department in the coming weeks and months. We have somebody on vacation, somebody that's got a planned leave, and so we're running rather short in that department. He is requesting that we have an employee classified as temporary to be appointed to help fill those vacancies and assist with routine things that they would otherwise be doing. We used Tom Broman this spring as a volunteer service worker, and he worked out very well. He worked independently, we didn't have to tell him what to do, he just was out there and he was very reliable. So the park board recommended that we appoint him as a temp to be utilized just when we need him, and then it would be very flexible hours, so if it's raining, he doesn't have to come in. If we need him because somebody's gone, we can, so we can keep the lawnmowers going and that type of thing. So what we're looking to do is to approve the appointment of Tom Broman as a temporary Public Works maintenance staff, and just that step 1 of that seasonal pay rate. So that's a request of the Public Works Department.
Questions? Concerns? Do I have a motion to approve the appointment of Tom Broman as a temporary Public Works maintenance staff at step 1?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Diane, what, a second?
I'll second.
Second by Heidi. Call the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7C, approve appointment of probationary EMT.
Ambulance Director Kathy Strufert has recruited an individual interested in completing EMT training and working as an EMT for the department. She's recommending the appointment of Cassidy Holmquist to the program with an appointment as a probationary EMT effective upon her successful completion of required training and the backgrounding. So that is the request tonight. So she has not completed all the training yet. She just wants to have it ready so when she completes the training, she can become a probationary EMT.
Okay. Questions? I know they're in dire need of people,
Yep.
Yeah.
so. Do I have a motion to approve the appointment of Cassidy Holmquist effective upon successful completion of required training?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Joe, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Dave. Call the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7D, approve resolution 2019-32, approving purchase of playground equipment.
So the park board met at their meeting last night. They reviewed these 3 playground units. There was 3 final designs, the Lumber Ridge, the Mullins Cove, and the New Brunswick. And you have the prices listed there as $12,090, $12,275, and $14,434. And I also gave you the schematic of each of them, or so the visual of what you can see. The park board last night, after discussion, they recommended the New Brunswick, which is the more expensive one. I think there was a safety concern with the climbing, the climbing feature. The wave climber is that, it kind of looks like a slide, but it's a climber on the front. And then the spiral step climber in the back. One other thing to note though, because I went up and took pictures of everything, and now there'll be no slide up there. So in order to make sure we have a slide, the Mullins Cove actually has a taller slide. So it's something that we hadn't really talked about at the board meeting because I believe they thought the old metal slide was still up there. But when we remove that wooden play structure, there'll be no slide. So, you know, if you're thinking about that into consideration, then the Mullins Cove has the taller slide. So that kind of gives you something to consider. And then also, the New Brunswick does put us over the 15,000 when you factor in shipping, but not by a whole lot, but it's just something to keep in mind. The board recommendation was the New Brunswick at the 14,434. But like I said, at that point, I don't think they were aware there would be no other slide. And so maybe the slide takes more priority. The New Brunswick slide is 4 feet tall, the other one is 6. And I guess I'm going to let you guys look at those prices and look at those and make the final decision. And Diane was at the meeting, so she
Yeah.
realized, you know,
One of the reasons that we picked the New Brunswick was because it'll accommodate more children. And Ryan Relke told me that when they have the softball going up there, there's a lot of kids that play back there. And that's why we wanted the bigger one. And we felt it was safer.
Okay. Anyone else have any
Okay.
comments or?
Is size an issue? I see that one is quite a bit bigger. Seems like there's not that much room up there, so did we check? to see?
lengthwise, they're about the same, but
Yeah.
the bigger one is deeper.
Yeah, it's much deeper.
You know, deeper. It takes a bigger, like a 39 by 32 versus the 39 by 23.
Yeah,
So it does take a bigger area. I think the area that it would encroach into, there's a piece that we did have to remove this spring that have broken. That if we don't replace that piece, we should be able to fit any of these in that location.
Anyone else? I guess basically looking at a playground, a piece of playground equipment and and watching kids on playgrounds, whether it's safe or not, because they're gonna be climbing anywhere they're supposed to anyway. You know,
yeah.
whether,
Climbing
What-
that
it-
doesn't,
yeah,
Strike-
they'll
Doesn't
climb
mean
on
they'll climb
areas
everything.
on this thing, whether it's supposed to be climbed on or not, it's gonna be. So, not to discount safety, but I think, in my opinion, we just meet in the middle of the road and go with the Mullins Cove.
I'm gonna agree with you, because I think the bigger slide is going to be important to the older kids, those little slides, I think.
Right.
You're gonna find that a boring piece of equipment in a big hurry.
Yeah. And one thing's with older kids, if it gets boring,
And they'll find more dangerous things
they
to climb on.
they find other things to do. Any other comments, concerns? Do I have a motion? to
I will make a motion that we go with the Mullins Cove.
Okay, Dave's made a motion to approve resolution 2019-32, accepting the purchase of the Mullins Cove playground equipment for J.C. Park. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second by Heidi. Any other discussion? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7F, approve execution of documents for sale of city property. Kate's first edition.
Okay, so the EDA had been meeting with the developer to consider an offer to purchase and develop Lot 1, Block 1, W.H. Cates First Edition. That's that long, narrow piece on the north end. That's kind of our fragment lot after we did the apartment complex project. The developer is proposing 3 twin homes that would be offered individually for sale. So these are not rental units, these are for sale units, but it would be twin homes, so you would own half. The deciding factor for this development is the cost of bringing in fill to the property up to the level needed for development. They're estimating 10,000 cubic yards of material will be needed to prepare the lot to bring it up to a buildable lot. The EDA has the following recommendation: that the city authorize the sale of the property for a total of $40,000, which includes $10,000 toward the balance of special assessments and $30,000 toward the cost of the lot and the cost of bringing in fill to make the property ready for construction. Also, the city should require a reversion clause on the property if the developer fails to begin construction within 2 years. And also, if the city determines not to sell the lot, it should consider filling the lot ourselves in order to prepare it for a future buyer due to the availability of fill at the present time because of our current street project. So we've got this proposal to sell it now for this total cost, including the cost of the fill, or if we don't sell it to him, we still should do the fill, because it'll have to be done at some point anyway, and now is the most cost-effective time due to the availability of the dirt. So the action requested is to recommend the sale of Lot 1, Block 1, W.H. Cates First Edition under those terms and conditions recommended by the EDA. I have 2 members here, so they can answer questions too.
Questions? Comments?
I think sell it. I
Yeah.
mean, that seems reasonable.
EDA members got anything to comment on, or did you cover?
I think
it, or-
we've been working pretty well with the person proposing that, to make this happen, so I'm happy with this agreement.
Okay. Do I have a motion to recommend the sale of Lot 1, Block 1, WH Kate's First Edition under the terms and conditions recommended by the EDA?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Dave, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Joel. Last minute comments? Call the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Approve Resolution 2019-33, approving spec and authorizing bids for loader.
The Operations Committee had previously recommended that we advertise for bids for the replacement of the payloader. Several payloaders were brought on site for staff to review, and specifications were developed for potential purchase. And then I did include the specifications in the packet for you to review. And then I also have an attached resolution approving those specs and authorizing the advertisement for bids with a potential bid award at the July 17th council meeting. The resolution, we had originally put opening Thursday, June 22nd, but by the time we get the advertising in and to give plenty of time, I talked to Ben, and we want to change that bid opening date to July 11th. Because we're not meeting we don't have a meeting the first week, or the first Wednesday of July because of the 4th of July. So we're not changing the timeline for award the bid, we're just giving more time for people to prepare the bid. So we're looking for Resolution 2019-33, approving the plans and specs and authorizing advertisement for bids with the change that they'll be opened on Thursday, July 11th at 4 o'clock versus June 27th.
Questions? Comments?
And
Right.
I think one other thing too, that, we've had it in the CIP for many, many years, always at the same price as $160,000, and we're finding we're closer to the $185 with the cost of steel right now. I don't want that to be a big surprise to you when we get the bids, because it's kind of our expectation. We'll see how it comes out.
Okay. I know Ben had talked to me about it and saying that the price was higher than what we had expected. but
Yep.
When you don't change the pricing in the capital improvement plan for how many years it's
Yeah.
expected, so. Do I have a motion to approve Resolution 2019-33?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Joe, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Diane. Call the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7H, Public Utilities Commission appointment.
So we had advertised for nominations for the 2 positions that were vacated with Roy Walls left, the Public Utilities Commission appointment and the Planning Commission. We do have 3 people that have requested consideration for the Public Utilities Commission, and we provided them earlier to the mayor and to you in your packet for his recommendation and for a council approval of an appointment. And it's Bryant, and I don't know how to pronounce that, Miyazaki, John Egan, and Wayne Senst. Go ahead, Warren.
Okay, well, this is one of the tougher decisions that have had to be made. 2 out of the 3 applicants that we got are very qualified for this position. They both have backgrounds in electrical and utility industry. One is John Egan, who's been with the utility 30 years.
30 plus, yeah.
30-plus years, and he knows the ins and outs of the whole system. And I've talked to John about it, is one of my concerns was the fact that he just retired, and whether or not it's going to influence anything at the staff level, at the PUC, by him coming on as one of the commissioners. He understood the question, and he said he didn't think it'd be a problem, but I still got my druthers about that. The other one is Wayne Sense. He also is very qualified for the position. Knowing he is also a lineman for Stearns Electric, and I know Dave's got concerns about whether or not there's any conflict of interest on that one. Legally, there's no conflict of interest, but whether or not it's going to influence decisions, we don't know. Basically, it's a council vote. My recommendation is to go with Wayne. This position's for the next 6 months. Then at the end of the year, this position and Dave's comes open at the end of the year. So there's a chance for whoever doesn't get it to come back on, or try again to come on. And maybe after 6 months, whoever we do appoint will maybe not want to be on there, not want to put their name back in. We don't know. That's one of the things about this. My recommendation is to go with Wayne, and it's up to the council, the vote, if you want to go the other way or how you want to do it.
Well-
Or you got any comments, go ahead.
I'll say, I had talked to the staff over there about John Egan too, and I know there are concerns, but I think that they know that they feel it's all right. It's 6 months, and if it's not working out, well, it's really going to be up again in 6 months. I have concerns because Wayne works for REA, and REA is a competitor of the municipal utility, and we do butt heads occasionally, and I think that's just, to my mind, that's a situation we just don't want to get into.
Okay.
I agree with Dave on that.
Okay. I don't know how, personally, I don't know, and I don't know if any of us other than Dave know how often that butting heads action actually happens, and whether or not, considering he's not in a management level, if that's going to be a situation. He's a lineman and he knows the system, but whether or not that means what we do is going to get run up the ladder at his side, at their level, because he's just a lineman, we have no idea. That's kind of a questionable.
Yeah, well, part of that and part of it is, sometimes we want to do things that are not in the interests of the REA.
Right.
And that's going to be a tough situation to be in, so.
Yeah, I mean, I know both these guys on the fire department. I think they both do well, good people, obviously knowledgeable on what they're doing. But I think I'd agree with that conflict of interest being, something we probably want to avoid in the 6 months of time. We can see how this goes. So that's my general thoughts.
I guess my only question is, and not to get into specifics, but the concern with John retiring, and what potential conflicts that would cause. Is it?
Well, I think the issue is that he was in charge of the electric department for many years.
Sure.
Now he'll be on the utility board. It's just a concern that some of the people have, that he might feel that he's back in charge of the electric department.
And I guess where I could empathize with him is you've worked somewhere for so many years and you're retired, but you still have that connection with what you've done
Yeah.
for so long.
Oh, I get that. I think it's something that he understands too.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things you have to say, but you don't run the electrical department. You're
No.
on the board.
And I asked all those questions to John.
Yeah.
And he said I wouldn't have been doing my job if I didn't ask those questions.
Right.
And he understood my point. Like I said, they're both great guys and they both could do the job. But I just have this feeling about having to, someone that retires and within, 6 months? He hasn't been gone that long.
He's been gone more than 6 months now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's almost
But-
9, so.
Yeah, not even a year, all of a sudden he wants to come back into it because he knows. And I was looking at the fact that maybe Wayne's got some ideas that might make the PUC work better. Not saying that John wouldn't be open to any new ideas and say, no, this is the way it's been for the last 20 years, it's not gonna change. I'm trying to,
Yeah, I understand what you're
looking
saying.
at the more open-mindedness stuff, not saying that neither one of them wouldn't be that way, but I think everybody understands what I mean by it. So,
I could see potential for Wayne to have some insight that we haven't previously seen also, regarding the butting heads of REA and versus public utilities, that it might be kind of our
Yeah.
connection between the two, not the butting head.
Yeah, although what you're asking is to be in a conflict of interest situation, and that's not what we'd be asking.
But he's a resident, correct?
He is a
Yes.
resident, no,
So-
but I mean, if you're saying that he provides their input, that's
Well-
what we're trying to avoid, is that conflict of interest.
So I'd hope that we'd have to trust him professionally to not do that as a resident of Sauk Center, knowing that he's paying the bill to us as, public utilities.
Oh, I
His
get
employer's
it.
completely
It's just,
separate.
it's just a situation that I think is best avoided.
and I think it's kind of like, how is the public gonna perceive it? Is basically what we're getting down to. He's basically just a lineman, doesn't have anything to do with management. If he was in management of it and came on our board, then I could
Yeah.
see a conflict. We have nothing else to go on that way.
He's got a knowledge base.
He's got a knowledge base, but it's not at a management level, so it eliminates the conflict of interest. But it's basically how the public's gonna perceive what we do.
Yeah,
Are we
it's,
giving John a position because he'd been around for so many years, or are we giving it to Wayne? You know, like I said, I'm only one vote, and for me, I had to pick one. So it's basically up to the council to decide which way they want to do this. So,
Well, I'm going to make a motion for appointing John Egan.
I'll second it.
okay, we have a motion to appoint John by Dave and seconded by Diane. Is there any other discussion? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3 in favor, 2 against. John is on. I know he's not in town right now, but somebody will get a hold of him. Unfinished business, rental registration and inspection ordinance.
Just a little update there. We've got some updated proposed language for the rental registration ordinance to, kind of like that pre-existing condition issues that some of the landlords were concerned about. We have some language for that now that'll be reviewed by the policy committee. And then once those requirements are all set, then the next step, we need to identify the process for the inspectors and what that's going to cost, so we can set a budget. And then once we have all that information together, then we can actually adopt an ordinance, and there'll be public hearings for that. So just kind of let you know that we haven't put it aside and shoved it aside. We're still kind of working on it and getting some information in, and then we'll be taking that to the committee, and then that'll come back to the council. But we just have several steps yet that we want to do before we get to that point. So that's just ongoing information. No action is required tonight.
One question, is there, we got the committee also working on, like penalty clauses or anything like that?
That
So
would
if
all have to be
someone-
in part of the ordinance, yeah.
Okay.
When we met the first time, we were kind of looking at just the whole policy of what we'd be looking for, but we also, the implementation part of it and the penalty, that'll all go into that final ordinance.
Okay,
So they'll actually see the ordinance from beginning to end of what it will look like at the next meeting, at their next meeting, so.
okay. EAB updates?
So this is about the Emerald Ash Borer. Now, we're still working on developing plans for working with that issue. We're not cutting any trees in the summer months. The Department of Ag recommends against that because the bugs are active right now and we don't want to just inadvertently take them somewhere else in the city. We did have an information sheet that we made available for the public that we do have attached to your packet for you to read. It gives a lot of links. We put that on the website so they can just click on it and get that information. The tree board will work on the final policy, and the final policy, we did update our ordinance to include emerald ash borer some years ago, but we have more information now and more detail. So the tree board, which is on the park board, will be recommending that. And then also, we're going to have a proposed budget for the upcoming year, which will be with the city council during the budget process. So the shade tree budget is going to end up probably seeing a good increase because of our needing to deal with emerald ash borer. And so that's all going to be something that the tree board will talk about, like a phased plan and what that might cost. So
Okay.
just informational for you at this time.
Sauk Center local option sales tax?
So early one Saturday morning, about 2 weeks ago now, the legislature did pass the local option sales tax for Sauk Center, and the governor then did sign it the following week. So our next steps include, we need to pass an ordinance imposing the tax, which I am proposing for June 19th meeting. Then we have to file a certificate of approval and a copy of the ordinance with the Secretary of State. We notify the Department of Revenue at least 90 days before it takes effect. We have to implement the tax on the first day of a calendar quarter. But when we provide the Department of Revenue, we have to have the ordinance, proof of filing with Secretary of State, zip code information, which is zip code +4, because that +4 digit is going to define the outline of where the tax is collected from. And then there's financial information from the city that they require, and then vendors who will be collecting the tax, so the people in the community that might be collecting it. So there's some significant amount of work that we need to put forward. So to think that we're going to get it all in there by July 1st is probably a little bit, in order to get an October 1st implementation is maybe a little optimistic. My thought at this point is that it actually won't go into effect until the first of the year. And so that's kind of the timeline that we're working on right now as we put this together. You know, we put the bill in front of them in January, and they didn't adopt till the end of May, so that kind of delayed us quite a bit. And but it did pass. Many other cities did pass. We're one of the cities that didn't have extra requirements put on it. They felt we were descriptive enough. Other cities need to pass more resolutions for more description of what they're going to do with the money. But information only at this point. I keep getting calls from vendors wondering, when do I collect? And I keep saying, just wait, you'll be notified. So we just keep moving forward. There's nothing for you to do at this point until we bring an ordinance in front of you for action.
Okay. Any questions? Okay. CIP project updates?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Project is going very well at this point. Things are moving along right on schedule. Oak Street, all the utilities have been installed at this point. We are working on the subgrade, getting it ready for gravel. Unfortunately, just at the most vulnerable point, it rained like crazy yesterday, so made it a little bit messy last night and this morning, but it's already dried out fairly well. They'll be back in there tomorrow and hopefully get gravel on it yet this week, so get that in much better shape. Elm Street, the sanitary sewer is being worked on, probably be completed by the end of the week. And then they'll actually be jumping over on 5th Street by the hospital, because we previously talked about kind of a window of opportunity. So I'll be doing those utilities over there for about the following week and a little bit into the week after that. So then they'll get that buttoned up, and then they'll move back to Elm Street and continue with the water and doing those parts, and then probably start in Country Club after that. So things are moving pretty well. The ponds, infiltration ponds, they've done the restoration on those, did the seeding along the edges of those. They look pretty good. We got a lot of rain last night, and I know there was comments about we'll never see water in there, but there was 2 feet of water in the one this morning, and with 1.5 inches or so of rain. So actually, that's pretty much about what we expected them to be. So it's sort of fitting the analysis. So that's good to see. So that's working, but they were all pretty much dried all the way down and dried out by the end of the day today. So, which is also what we wanted to see. So. There is an except here. We did unfortunately have one issue late yesterday, which was when temporary water was installed on Elm Street. There was a homeowner that unfortunately on their frost-proof outdoor spigots had broken, and it didn't leak when it was turned off, but it leaks when it's turned on. Unfortunately, we weren't aware of this. So they went and they opened the faucet, make sure there was water pressure, which there was, and then they went and connected it, and when everything's done, it, back feeds and puts pressure back into the house. Well, that started essentially filling up the basement with water. They ended up getting about 5 inches of water in the basement. The good news is it was an unfinished basement, so there wasn't a lot down there, so it wasn't a real big problem. The other issue is, unfortunately, their floor drain was plugged, so it didn't let anything drain out. They had to go in with a snake and clean it out, and then it drained right down. So as of just before the meeting, actually, the restoration folks arrived, and it's with the insurance, with the contractor, and things are being taken care of. But that was one unfortunate incident that occurred yesterday. So, and that's my update. Any questions?
Questions? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
New business, Trunk Highway 71 reconstruct.
So that's the, what you've kind of been waiting for on the 2024 project. MnDOT has assigned us a project engineer, and the first meeting will be held on June 13th, which is coming up next week. It's going to include MnDOT's engineers, their planner, their outreach personnel, and the city will include our city engineer and the public works supervisor, the police chief, myself, the water, wastewater, and electric. So we kind of have, this is going to be a staff level meet and greet with everybody that's going to be involved at this level, and we're going to go block to block and identify issues that we are all aware of, and they'll identify issues that they're all aware of. So we kind of have a good mutual understanding of what our expectations of the project are going to be. And then once we put that all together, then there'll be follow-up meetings. We'll start bringing more people in, maybe a couple council members, and maybe some people that live along there, maybe some business owners, some downtown people, just kind of a cross-section of people to get input. And of course, the Minnesota Historical Society will be involved as well. So this is what we've kind of been waiting for, to see that we're still on the schedule for that. And it looks like starting June 13th, we'll know more. And so any issues, concerns, ideas, anything that the council has, be thinking of those, because we want to make sure to put everything on the table so that we don't have any surprises. So that's where we're at. June 13th is our first meeting.
Comments? Okay, we'll then move on to our consent agenda. We have schedule of claims, unpaid claims of $238,608.67. I take that, not 667.
It could be.
Paid,
67 works with the later number, so.
yeah, I just rounded up. Paid claims, $100 for a total of $238,708.67. We have resolution 2019-33 accepting contributions of $189.62 from the men's card playing group to be allocated to the senior center, and a $1,500 donation from Lance and Melanie Muffelman to be allocated to the fire department. And on behalf of the city and as a whole, we want to thank those people for those donations. We have a request from James Metcalf representing the American Legion Post 67 for 2 temporary 3.2 on-sale beer license permits for the term of 1 day on July 19th, 2019 for a beer garden at the Sinclair Lewis Park, and a term of 5 days on July 31st to August 4th, 2019 for the concession stand at the Stearns County Fair. We also have a resolution number 2019-34 approving an off-site gambling permit for the Sauk Center American Legion Post 67. The permit will allow for bingo to be held on July 20th, 2019 at the Sinclair Lewis Park. And we have a request from Tony Jensen from American Tap and Eatery for a temporary extension of premise permit from 1 p.m. to 12:30 a.m. in the back parking lot on June 6th through 8th, 2019 with an outdoor band and acoustic shows. Is there any questions or concerns with the consent calendar?
Maybe just ask Tony to request a little bit earlier for future endeavors. I think this maybe was one of his first requests for an extension, but
Yeah, I understand
It's
this.
a little more notice.
This is
would be
Yeah.
good.
this week, right. So, any other questions or concerns? Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Dave, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Heidi. Call the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Informational items.
Just a couple things about the household hazardous waste that is coming up now next week on Wednesday. And then the other thing is the concerts in the park. The concert in the park schedule has been released. I included it in your packet, and it's on the different websites so that you'll see. But starting June 19th, that's when we'll be having bands every Wednesday night at 6:30 PM for all the way until August 21st. That's all I have.
Questions? This brings us to the end of our agenda. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Dave, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Joe. Call the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Meeting adjourned.